My name is Alex Dolphin, and welcome back to another episode of Ex Ante. Today we're going to discuss the case Arizona versus United States. This case was heard in the Supreme Court of the United States in the year 2012. Let's go ahead and jump into the facts of the case. So the Arizona State Legislature passed a bill which essentially gave state law enforcement officers discretion to enforce immigration law, to try and combat the flood of undocumented or illegal immigrants that had come into that state. The legislature was concerned about it, so they basically passed this law giving the police some power to try and combat this problem as they saw it. Now, the challenge is the United States is saying we have preempted the field of immigration law. Federal law is the only law that can occupy the field of immigration law. That's essentially the argument of the federal government. This is an implicit preemption because this is a field where the federal government regulates and states cannot do so. So that is the argument the federal government is bringing to the table. And there are a few provisions that we'll go over in this video where the state is saying, well, we should be able to do this, and the federal government is saying, no, you should not. And the court rules on these four specific provisions. So those are the ones we'll go through. So the first one is Section 3. Section 3 requires every illegal alien to carry an alien registration document with them. And if they don't, then they can be arrested or detained for violation of state law in Arizona. Well, the majority opinion, Justice Kennedy, quickly dispatches of this section, says you can't do this. Congress has made pretty clear that it intends to preempt any type of regulation in alien registration documents, and it did so when it's passed its scheme for alien registration. So, sorry states, you can't do this. So Section 3 is struck. Section 5 makes it a crime to apply for or solicit work if you're an illegal alien. Congress contemplated this when it passed its immigration law, but ultimately Congress decided we're not going to punish the illegal aliens themselves. What we're actually going to do is just punish the employers who employ these illegal immigrants. So Justice Kennedy says Congress, they contemplated regulating the employees, and they chose not to. And because they chose only to regulate the employers, you regulating the employees, state, you regulating illegal aliens as employees, stands in an obstacle. So it's obstacle preemption to the goal of the federal government here. And the next section is Section 6, which basically allows any police officer to arrest without a warrant any person if they have probable cause to believe that the person has committed a public offense that makes him removable from the United States. So essentially, if an officer has probable cause and a reasonable belief that this person could be removable from the United States, he can arrest and detain him. Now, Justice Kennedy pretty quickly dispatches with this. He just says this is not the federal system that Congress created. Congress didn't allow state officers to just arrest people for reasonable belief that they could, be removed from the United States. It could lead to a lot of racial targeting. He doesn't address that in the opinion, but that is what's kind of underlying a lot of this here is this could lead to a lot of racial bias, racial targeting of people, and we're really a country that wants to do that. Section 2. Section 2 is actually, this one is allowed to stand. And so everyone concurs about Section 2. We all agree with Section 2. Section 2 says, if you arrest someone as an officer, then you have to make a reasonable attempt to determine the immigration status of that person. What that might mean is that you're calling back and forth with ICE, and you're basically determining, well, is this person a legal immigrant? Does this person have legal status, or are they an illegal immigrant? And so it's the state officers are now incentivized to work with the federal officers in basically implementing the federal immigration law. And the court allows this section to stand. They say, this doesn't stand as an obstacle. The federal government has encouraged states to work with the federal regulatory agents, and this isn't in any way going against what Congress passed. This is just cooperative partnership here between the state and the federal law enforcement officers. Now, Justice Scalia has quite a different opinion about all of this, and his reasoning is centered on the idea of sovereignty. He says, what is a sovereign if it can't exclude people from its its borders. If you cannot exclude people from your borders, you're not much of a sovereign. And he says that the state of Arizona, there's absolutely no chance they would have entered into a union if this were in the Constitution. It is an inherent privilege, an inherent right of sovereignty to be able to exclude people. And he says the states wouldn't have necessarily believed they would be giving that up. The states here, Arizona, is making a good faith effort to try and exercise its sovereignty, to try and exclude people that the legislature has determined are a drain on resources or could be dangerous in the community. And I'm not making any statement about that, but this is Justice Scalia's argument, is that, these people are a drain on resources. They're dangerous in the community. And the Arizona state legislature and the government there should be able to exercise its sovereignty and exclude these people. So he would have basically upheld all of the provisions here. It's just fine. And there's one key argument. He says, the court says if it's a federal law and a state law, the state can't make a penalty for a violation of the federal law. And that was an argument that was persuasive to the majority. But he essentially says, well, that makes no sense. What about drug laws? It's a federal illegal act to traffic drugs. And it's also probably a state illegal act. So, just because there's some congruity between the two doesn't mean that the federal law preempts it. There could be scenarios where it's illegal and it's a violation of state law and federal law, and that's okay. We accept that in the drug world, so we should accept that here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye-bye.